Hey boys and girls, we're going to be looking at equivalent fractions today. Now what are equivalent fractions? Well, it has the word in the name, equivalent or equal. So we're looking at two fractions that are equal but may not look that way initially. So like 1/2 and 2/4 are equal. And how do I prove that and how do I know that? So we're going to look at pictures using a visual representation, and we're going to look at fractions on a number line representation. Okay? And then how to just solve it mathematically to see if they're equal. So let's look at what we have. So here we have some just pictures, all right? So let's look at the first one, which is a circle. So let's look at our circle. So let's say we have two pizzas. So one pizza is one whole. So I want a quarter of the pizza. Okay? We're going to make this one the same. This is the same storyline here. So 1/4 of the pizza. Well, what happened if somebody comes along and says, hey, we have a few more people, so we want to split it up a little bit more, and they take my pizza and they cut every one of those pieces in half. Did the pizza get any bigger or smaller? No, the whole pizza is still the same size. Did we shade in any more or any less? No. But this one has 1 out of 4 pieces shaded in. And this one has 2 out of 8 pieces shaded in. So if you're looking at the same whole, that's the key. If you're looking at the same whole thing, so we're looking at the same whole pizza, 1/4 and 2/8 are the same thing. Okay, so let's look at a chocolate bar. So we have the same chocolate bar broken up into 8 pieces. And let's say that you eat this much. Okay, so how much is that much? We gotta do the same thing over here. Remember, we want to keep it the same. So how much is that much? Well, it's 5 out of 8 pieces. But if I take those same pieces of chocolate and I break them all up again, now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 out of 1, 2, 3, 4 by 1, 2, 3, 4, so that's 16 pieces. So, what are the key things right now? The key things right now are the two wholes are the same. So I have one pizza and one pizza, one candy bar, one candy bar. They're the same size. 2, I am making sure that I am shading in the same amount on both. So I originally had 1/4 just shaded on both of these and 5/8 shaded on both of these. So, and lastly, I'm making sure I am cutting them all up the same. Okay, so I took each one of these and I cut them in half, and I took each one of these and I cut them in half. Can you cut them in the more than just half? Sure, just half's the easiest way we can represent it right. So let's say I divide them like this. So I divide them in half. Let's say we use up this half. Half is the most common one with equivalent fractions because a lot of times you have half of something, but you have more than 2. Now I told you could divide it more than just in half again. So could I divide it in half again? Yes, I could divide it in half again. But that is not what I want to do. I'm going to do this. So, how many pieces do I have on this one? I have 1 out of 2. How many do I have here? 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 4 out of 8. Okay, so 4/8 and 1/2 are the same. So how do we take this image here and put it on a number line? Well, let's draw a number line. So here we have our number line. So let's look at our first picture. So it says 1/4. Well, we want to go from 0 to 1. It says we need to divide it up into 4 pieces. Well, there's 2 and there's 4. So I have 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, and 4/4. Sorry, I forgot my 0/4. Okay, so what happens? How do we split it up into 8? Well, let's take a different color here. So I still have 0 to 1. Well, how do I divide it up in 8 pieces? Well, I'm still going to divide it in half, so there's 2. If I divide those in half, that's 4. If I divide those in half, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. So then I would get 8s. So 0 out of 8, 1 out of 8, 8, there we go, 2 out of 8, 3 out of 8, 4 out of 8, 5 out of 8, 6 out of 8, 7 out of 8, and 8 out of 8. So, our 1/4 and 2/8 fall in the same spot? They most certainly do. Alright, let's take what we've learned here and apply it to your packet. We're only going to do a couple on each one. So let's look at this opening piece they have here. So they have 2 number lines that are exactly the same size. They both start at 0 and they both go to 1. So they said they have 1/2, so that means they divide it into 2 pieces. So they have 0 halves, 1/2, and 2 halves. Then they had fourths, so they divide in fourths. They said, okay, there's 2, and now I have 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So once doing that, they showed that 1/2 and 2/4 fall on the same line. So let's take a look at one here. So it says circle all the equivalent fractions. So all you have to do is look at all the ones that fall in the same spot. Let's go down to looking at equivalent fractions. There we go. So now we have the same images we looked at. So looking at equivalent fractions, we both have the same size circle. Okay, there's not 2 different circles here. Same size circle. The first one was cut into half, and this one was cut in half, but then this one was cut in half again. They both have the same amount shaded. They both have this one side shaded. Okay, but the first one has 2/4, and this one has 1 out of 2 shaded. So equivalent fractions can go both ways. They can go from more to less or less to more pieces. Okay? So this one has more pieces, but it's the same size. Okay, let's come down here. So here we have 1 out of 4 shaded. Here we have the same amount shaded, but it's 2 out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So this is 2 out of 8. So 2/8 and 1/4 are the same thing. Let's go down to another page. So this page doesn't have any of them marked in. So you have to look at so you can look at from less to more or more to less. It doesn't matter. So this one I have 1 out of 3 shaded. This one I have 2 out of 6 shaded. Okay? And how did they do that? Okay, so, sorry, I want to put my 2 back there. All they did was take these ones and cut them in half. If I look over here, all they did was cut it in half. If I look over here, all they did was cut it in half. Oh, wait, this one, there we go. They cut this one into thirds, but they're cutting it into equal pieces, and that's the important part of fractions. Okay, so they want you to shade it to make it equal on this one. So I'm I'm looking at, they cut this one in half. So if I cut this one in half, what's shaded? Just the top. Sorry. If I follow the same line, what's shaded? Just the top. This one wants you to write the fraction of the shaded part. Now this one isn't saying they are equal. It just says write the fraction of the shaded part. But then it says which one of these are equal. Which one has the same amount shaded. So you have to kind of take a step back and look at the shaded shape. So we have this, that one. Those are similar, but the mouth is kind of more open on the second one. That one's just a half circle. Those aren't half circles. This one, the opening is more closed. So this one and this one look the most similar to me, but you can check it out on your own. And last, I want you to divide the squares up on their own. Okay. So I told you we would take you to day 10. And I lied because you're going to be going into comparing fractions, and we don't want to go into that yet. That'll be a new video, okay? So the very last thing I want to show you is just the pure math of it, the pure numbers here. So we said that 1/4 and 2/8 are equal. So how do we figure this out without drawing a picture? Because I know you know that mathematicians aren't drawing a picture every time they have a fraction. I will tell you that multiplication and division are what we use to show fractions are equivalent. So how do I get from 1 to 2 using multiplication? Well, I multiply by 2, right? 1 times 2 is 2. How do I get from 4 to 8? I multiply by 2. 4 times 2 equals 8. If you can multiply by the same on the top and bottom, they are equivalent fractions. So let's look at one. Let's look at 5/7. So if I multiply, I'm going to get a color you can see here. If I multiply 5 by 2 and 7 by 2, I get 10/14. If I multiply by the same on the top and bottom, I get an equivalent fraction. So let's look at now. I told you it was multiplication and division. So let's look at division. So let's say I have 12 out of 14. Well, if I can divide the same on the top and the bottom, I get an equivalent fraction. So let's divide by 2. 12 divided by 2 is 6. 14 divided by 2 is 7. So 12/14 and 6/7 are going to be the same. And that's just the pure math of it. I know this was a longer video, but it's going to take you through a few of your lessons. If you get stuck, reach out to me or your teacher, and I'll make you a video just for that lesson to help you out. Okay? Good luck, and I know you can do it. Keep up the great work.